Most people think aging begins quietly, one birthday at a time. But biologically, aging speaks every single day in how easily we rise from a chair, how steady we feel on our feet, how deeply we breathe, and how confidently we move through the world. The powerful truth is this: the body is not simply counting years, it is responding to use. Muscles, bones, nerves, and even balance systems are listening closely to our daily choices. Movement is not exercise in the narrow sense. It is a biological signal that tells the body you are still needed. When we move with intention, even gently, the body answers by preserving strength, coordination, and resilience far longer than we were once taught to believe. Strength, especially after midlife, is not about lifting heavy weights or chasing youthful performance. It is about protecting independence at the cellular level. Every time muscles are challenged, even lightly, they send messages that slow age-related loss, improve blood sugar control, and stabilize joints. This is not about fighting age. It is about cooperating with biology. The science is clear. Muscles are not just engines of movement. They are organs of health. They help regulate metabolism, protect the brain, and reduce inflammation. When seniors train strength wisely, they are not working out. They are reinforcing the foundation that allows them to live freely. Aging is often described as something that happens to us automatically, as if time alone were responsible for the changes we feel in our bodies. But the human body does not experience age as a number on a calendar. It experiences age through signals. Every tissue is constantly asking a quiet biological question: am I still needed? When we move regularly, the body receives a clear answer. Muscles stay engaged, nerves remain active, joints stay nourished, and systems that control balance and coordination remain alert. When movement fades, the body begins to adapt in the opposite direction, conserving energy by reducing strength, flexibility, and responsiveness. In this way, aging becomes less about years lived and more about how often the body is invited to participate in life. Movement acts like a language spoken directly to our biology. Each time we stand up, walk, stretch, or carry something, the body interprets that action as a demand for capability. Muscle fibers respond by maintaining their size and function. Bones respond by preserving density. The nervous system responds by refining coordination and reaction time. Even the heart and blood vessels respond, becoming more efficient and resilient. These changes do not require extreme effort or athletic performance. They require consistency. The body does not reward intensity as much as it rewards repetition. Gentle movement performed daily sends a stronger message than occasional bursts of effort followed by long periods of stillness. When the body is used less, it begins to reorganize itself around inactivity. Muscles shrink because they are no longer required to produce force. Joints stiffen because they are no longer asked to move through their full range. Balance declines because the brain receives fewer signals from the feet and inner ear. This process is not a failure of willpower or a natural collapse. It is an efficient biological response to reduced demand. The body is designed to conserve energy, and it will always adapt to the level of activity it is given. This is why prolonged sitting and avoidance of movement can accelerate physical decline, even in the absence of disease. What makes this understanding powerful is that it restores a sense of influence. Even later in life, the body remains remarkably adaptable. Research consistently shows that older adults who begin moving more, even after decades of inactivity, regain strength, stability, and confidence. The body does not hold grudges. It responds to what it experiences now. Small actions accumulate into meaningful change. A daily walk, regular standing, light resistance, or mindful stretching all contribute to maintaining function. These actions are not about reversing time, but about reminding the body of its role. Using the body regularly is an act of communication rather than control. It tells the biological systems that movement is still required, that balance still matters, and that strength still has purpose. Over time, this ongoing dialogue shapes how aging is expressed. The body does not ask for perfection or youthfulness. It asks for participation when movement remains part of daily life. Aging becomes a gradual adaptation rather than a rapid decline, guided not by the number of years lived, but by the signals the body receives each day. Strength is often misunderstood, especially later in life. Many people associate it with heavy weights, intense workouts, or youthful athleticism, and assume it no longer applies to them. But strength, in its most meaningful form, is not about how much you can lift. It is about how well your body can support you in everyday life. It is the quiet ability to rise from a chair without hesitation, to carry groceries without strain, to climb stairs with confidence, and to catch yourself if you stumble. These ordinary moments depend on muscle, and muscle is one of the most powerful protectors of independence as we age. From a biological perspective, muscle is far more than a tool for movement. It functions as an active tissue that communicates with the rest of the body. When muscles contract against resistance, they release signals that improve blood sugar regulation, reduce chronic inflammation, and support healthy circulation. This means that maintaining strength helps protect against conditions often associated with aging, not by fighting disease directly, but by improving the internal environment in which the body operates. Stronger muscles create a more stable and efficient system, allowing organs, joints, and the nervous system to work with less stress. Loss of strength does not happen suddenly. It develops quietly when muscles are no longer challenged. The body interprets this lack of demand as a signal that strength is unnecessary, and it slowly reduces muscle tissue to conserve energy. Over time, this leads to weakness, slower movement, joint instability, and increased risk of falls. What's important to understand is that this process is not inevitable. Even small amounts of resistance, performed regularly, can interrupt this cycle. The body does not require heavy loads to maintain muscle. It requires consistent signals that strength is still needed. Strength training for seniors is not about pushing limits, but about reinforcing foundations. Light weights, resistance bands, body weight movements, or even controlled standing and sitting can stimulate muscles effectively. These actions help stabilize joints, protect the spine, and support posture. As posture improves, breathing becomes easier and balance becomes more reliable. Strength, in this sense, becomes a chain reaction that improves multiple systems at once. Each improvement makes daily movement feel safer and more natural, which encourages further activity and reinforces independence. Perhaps the most meaningful aspect of strength is psychological. When people feel physically capable, they move with less fear. Confidence replaces caution, and movement becomes fluid rather than restricted. This confidence encourages engagement with life rather than withdrawal from it. Strength training becomes an act of self-preservation rather than self-improvement. It is not about reclaiming youth, but about maintaining dignity and autonomy. The body responds to strength training at any age because it recognizes purpose. When muscles are used with care and intention, they support not just movement, but the freedom to live life on one's own terms. Balance and mobility are often treated as secondary concerns, yet they are central to how safely and confidently a person moves through the world. Balance is not a single skill stored in the legs. It is an ongoing conversation between the brain, the inner ear, the eyes, and the muscles of the body. Every step we take requires these systems to exchange information in real time. When movement is frequent and varied, this communication stays sharp. When movement becomes limited or repetitive, the signals weaken and balance gradually becomes uncertain. This is why loss of balance is not simply a consequence of aging, but a reflection of how actively the nervous system is being engaged. Mobility plays a similar role in maintaining the body's internal awareness. Joints are designed to move through specific ranges, and when they do, they remain healthy. Movement circulates fluid through joints, delivering nutrients to cartilage and removing waste products. When joints are rarely moved fully, they stiffen, not because they are damaged, but because they are underused. The body adapts by limiting motion to protect itself, which can create a cycle of stiffness and hesitation. Gentle mobility exercises interrupt this cycle by reminding the joints and surrounding muscles that movement is safe and necessary. The nervous system thrives on challenge that is appropriate and gradual. Simple actions like standing on one foot, turning the head while walking, stepping over small obstacles, or reaching in different directions stimulate coordination and awareness. These movements strengthen the brain's ability to predict and respond to changes in position. Over time, this improves reaction speed and stability. What appears as improved balance is actually improved communication between sensory systems. The brain becomes better at interpreting information from the body and adjusting movement accordingly. As balance and mobility decline, people often begin to move more cautiously. While caution feels protective, excessive restriction reduces sensory input and weakens the very systems that support stability. Fear of falling can lead to smaller steps, reduced movement, and avoidance of unfamiliar environments. This limits stimulation to the nervous system and accelerates decline. Practicing balance and mobility in a controlled and safe way restores confidence and reduces fear. When the body learns that it can adapt and recover, movement becomes more fluid and relaxed. Balance and mobility are not about eliminating risk, but about building capacity. The goal is not perfect stillness, but adaptability. Life requires constant adjustment to uneven surfaces, changing directions, and unexpected shifts in weight. Training these abilities keeps the nervous system flexible and responsive. Even later in life, the brain remains capable of learning and refining movement patterns. When balance and mobility are practiced regularly, they preserve the body's ability to respond rather than react, allowing movement to feel natural instead of threatening, and supporting a sense of security that extends far beyond physical stability. The heart is often imagined as a muscle that must be pushed hard to remain strong, but in reality, it responds best to steady, rhythmic use. As we age, the goal of cardiovascular movement shifts from performance to efficiency. The heart does not need extreme exertion to stay healthy. It needs regular reminders to circulate blood, deliver oxygen, and adapt to gentle increases in demand. Activities such as walking, cycling, swimming, or slow stair climbing create a consistent rhythm that the heart recognizes and responds to positively. Over time, this rhythm trains the heart to work with less strain rather than more force. When the heart is engaged regularly, blood vessels become more flexible and responsive. This improves circulation not only to muscles, but also to the brain and internal organs. Better circulation supports mental clarity, temperature regulation, and energy levels throughout the day. The brain, which consumes a large portion of the body's oxygen, benefits directly from improved blood flow. Many people notice that regular gentle cardio improves mood, focus, and sleep quality. These changes are not coincidental. They reflect a nervous system that is better supported by oxygen and nutrients delivered efficiently through the bloodstream. Cardiovascular movement also influences how the body manages energy. Regular activity helps regulate blood sugar and improves the body's ability to use fuel effectively. Instead of sharp spikes and crashes in energy, the system becomes more stable. This reduces fatigue and supports endurance in daily tasks. Endurance in this context is not about covering long distances or reaching targets. It is about the quiet ability to remain active without becoming exhausted. A heart trained through gentle consistency supports this form of sustainable energy. One of the most important aspects of cardiovascular movement in later life is its relationship with recovery. Intense or irregular exertion can overwhelm the system, leading to prolonged fatigue or discomfort. In contrast, moderate, frequent movement improves recovery by enhancing circulation and calming the nervous system. This creates a positive feedback loop. Movement feels more manageable, which encourages consistency, and consistency strengthens the heart's ability to recover. Over time, this makes daily activity feel less taxing and more natural. The heart adapts to patterns rather than isolated efforts. A short walk, taken daily, often provides greater benefit than a long, exhausting session performed occasionally. The body learns from what it experiences most often. When movement becomes a regular part of the day, the cardiovascular system remains engaged without being stressed. This supports long-term vitality rather than short-term gains. Gentle cardio becomes a form of cooperation with the body, allowing the heart to age with resilience and efficiency, supporting both physical stamina and mental clarity in a way that feels sustainable and respectful to the body's changing needs. Movement becomes most powerful when it is connected to meaning rather than obligation. Many people approach fitness as a task they must complete or a problem they must fix, especially later in life when the body begins to change. This mindset often creates resistance, frustration, or inconsistency. The body responds differently when movement is rooted in purpose. When activity is connected to daily life, personal values, or the desire to remain independent, it becomes something the nervous system accepts rather than resists. The body senses intention, and intention shapes how consistently movement is practiced. As people age, fear often replaces curiosity. Fear of pain, fear of injury, fear of falling, or fear of not being able to keep up. When movement is driven by intensity or external pressure, this fear can increase. In contrast, meaningful movement invites awareness instead of force. It encourages listening to the body rather than overriding it. When exercise is framed as self-care, the nervous system stays calmer, muscles move more fluidly, and recovery improves. The body is more willing to adapt when it does not feel threatened. Meaning also strengthens consistency, which is far more important than effort level. A short daily walk taken to enjoy fresh air, maintain independence, or clear the mind is more sustainable than an intense routine driven by guilt or comparison. Over time, these small acts accumulate into significant biological benefits. Muscles remain engaged, joints stay mobile, and the cardiovascular system remains active. The body does not measure progress by intensity alone. It responds to regular exposure and repeated signals of use. Purpose gives movement a reason to return day after day. There is also a psychological dimension that cannot be separated from physical health. When people move with intention, they reinforce a sense of agency. They feel capable rather than fragile. This confidence influences posture, balance, and willingness to engage with the world. The body follows the mind's expectations. When movement is associated with care and respect, the body responds with greater cooperation. Tension decreases, breathing deepens, and movement becomes smoother. These subtle changes improve overall function and reduce the risk of injury. Healthy aging is not about chasing youth or correcting perceived flaws. It is about maintaining a relationship with the body based on understanding and compassion. Meaningful movement respects limits while gently expanding them. It adapts to changing abilities rather than resisting them. When fitness becomes an expression of self-respect, the body responds with resilience. Aging slows not because time stops, but because the body continues to feel valued, engaged, and supported to purposeful, thoughtful movement woven naturally into everyday life.